It started as a shift in priorities. The United States, once a global leader, began pulling back from its commitments. International trade agreements were abandoned, alliances like NATO were questioned, and the focus turned inward. The slogan was America First, but what followed was far from greatness. At first, the effects were subtle. Tariffs on foreign goods made imported products more expensive. American industries tried to fill the gaps, but without global competition, innovation slowed. Technology, once the pride of U.S. progress, fell behind as China and Russia poured resources into advancing AI, clean energy, and next-generation infrastructure. China expanded its Belt and Road Initiative, creating economic dependencies across Asia, Africa, and Europe. Nations that once relied on U.S. partnerships turned to Beijing for investment. Russia, too, seized the moment. With NATO weakened by distrust and U.S. disengagement, Moscow expanded its influence in Eastern Europe and the Arctic, claiming resources and territory unchallenged. Meanwhile, the U.S. struggled with its self-imposed isolation. Trade wars meant key resources like semiconductors, rare earth metals, and pharmaceuticals became scarce. Prices for everything, electronics, cars, medicines, skyrocketed. American manufacturers couldn't keep up, and everyday citizens felt the pinch. Imagine standing in line for hours just to buy basic goods. Grocery store shelves empty because supply chains, once reliant on international trade, have collapsed. You try to call your aging parents to check on them, but the infrastructure for reliable communication is faltering. Satellites and tech components once imported from allies are no longer available, and American replacements are years behind. Did you know that during the height of the America First era, the United States withdrew from the Trans-Pacific Partnership? This gave China a golden opportunity to dominate Pacific trade, solidifying its control over critical supply chains. While American companies faced increasing costs, Chinese firms thrived, selling cheaper goods to the very allies America had alienated. And then came the crises. A major cyberattack, suspected to be Russian, targeted U.S. infrastructure. Power grids failed in several states, leaving millions without electricity. Gas pipelines were shut down, sparking panic and price surges. Without strong alliances, the U.S. faced these challenges alone. Military modernization plans had focused on hardware, but the real battles were being fought in cyberspace, where Russia and China had a commanding lead. Global cooperation to tackle climate change and pandemics became impossible. With the U.S. absent from global leadership, nations turned inward, hoarding resources and abandoning collective action. Rising sea levels and extreme weather events displaced millions, sparking waves of refugees. America's weakened position meant it could no longer influence global policy, and its economy buckled under the strain. For the average American, life became a daily struggle. Jobs that depended on international markets disappeared. Families that once thrived on affordable goods now faced skyrocketing prices. Community tensions rose as people turned on one another, blaming everyone but the policies that had created the crisis. China and Russia emerged stronger. China's technology and infrastructure dominated the global economy, while Russia extended its influence into regions that had once relied on American support. The U.S., once the world superpower, had become a shadow of its former self. The isolationist gridlock wasn't the end of America, but it was the end of the world as it once knew it. A stark reminder that no nation, no matter how powerful, can thrive in isolation. True strength lies in cooperation, in alliances, and in recognizing that the world is interconnected, and turning inward only makes you weaker.